Okay, for our face grid, really you want to keep in mind that your eyes, your eyebrows, your nose, your mouth, your chin, everything drops in to this sort of tic-tac-toe within the box. So remembering that your eyes fill the squares is important, and remembering that it's like a little, Cheerio or a donut hole, getting the iris in, getting those in there, filling that center part. And you can really go through and do that with all of these. Because no matter what size your tic-tac-toe grid is, now see, that's a little bit big, but I'm gonna make it even and it'll be consistent-ish. Then I can put a little pupil in there as well. On the smaller ones, you don't have to have as much detail, because when things are far away or when things are smaller, you tend not to see that amount of detail. When things are larger, like these larger ones down at the bottom, okay, you're gonna wanna get a little more detailed with it, and we'll talk about that in a second. So I have my things in. Your nose is gonna go, in that general vicinity, whether it's an upturned nose, whether it's a monkey, straight facing nose, whether it's a koala ears nose, doesn't really matter to me, as long as you get your noses in there and they're somewhat spaced and fill that area. Sometimes with upturned noses, the bottom of the carriage for Cinderella is down low, and then the middle is up a little bit higher. So kind of like carriage wheel, and then the carriage. And you don't want to go too far outside the box, but a little bit outside the box is just fine. You definitely don't want to have it too small inside the box, because then it will look like your person had really terrible plastic surgery, and the proportion of the face won't look right. So getting the noses in, and then getting sort of a midline for the mouth. And remember that the corners of the mouth line up with the pupil of the eye. So it's going to be somewhere in that general vicinity. Like, you don't want to go all the way across. You want to have the corner of the mouth line up with the pupil, whether it's the inside of the pupil or whether it's like the outside corner of the pupil. It goes across there. With these, obviously, like, I'm going to go in, get my eyelid. I'm gonna sort of get my brow in here. And because it's small, you don't need to do a ton. I'm gonna bring up my shading here to between the nose and then go out. So when you are doing the nose, like, this spot in between, like where your tear duct is, so when you put your eyelid over, the spot where like your glasses would sit on your nose is the smaller part. So the bridge of the nose comes up, and then there's going to be shading in this area, along with the shading around the bottoms of the spheres, and getting that real dark shadow in for the nostrils. And then that's gonna branch off to, like, right there. When we were shading around the eyes and everything with the eyeballs, and there were the cast shadows with the spheres, there's a cast shadow right in here. It's usually fairly dark in there. Obviously not all faces are black and white, but just to give you an idea of like where that cast shadow would fall and how that plays out when you're shading the face, like you want to get that in there. because the shading of the sphere really helps when you are shading the rest of the face. Like this is going to have a definite shade to it. So my Mickey Mouse of the lips, I'm gonna shade a little here. I'm just gonna shade a little bit underneath that and give this a little shadow. And you can already see it's coming together. I'm gonna take a little, I'm using my shirt, but you can use a paper towel, you can use a blending stump. I usually don't recommend using your finger, although a lot of people do use your finger because your fingers have oil on them and a lot of times you'll get smudges. So in doing that, then I can go back in with a little white eraser, especially like the top of the nose and the bridge, and getting in here between the eyebrows, like a little highlight action going on the cheekbones, over the top of the mouth, in there, and things start to pop out. So I also didn't do my eye crease. Make sure you get a crease in there, unless your person has a monolid of like Asian descent or Native American. In some cases, my brain stopped working right there. Eyelashes, like if I'm going for eyelashes, you start curve, and it's not singles, they're like in pairs, so you don't move on until you get a little, it's like boop, boop, like boop, 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 and it's, if you have trouble doing it on the left hand side, flip it upside down and go this way, boop, 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 boop. And that will give you more of a natural kind of lashy quality. So keep working, getting your those eyes really open on like a sleepy look. I'm gonna make some rounded eyebrows. Got a downturn nose. Shade, shade, shade. Remember, come up between the eyes and then back out. Shade, shade. Get my pupil in there. I'm gonna get some shadow in that lid. There's always a shadow there. Even if like you don't see a ton of eyelash, there is always that overlap that's going to have a shadow. Shade that sphere so that you get the feeling that that area is in a little bit. Like you can curve the edges up just a little bit, don't go too far. Mickey Mouse going on here lightly. Shading underneath them. This line in the center line of the mouth should always be dark. Same with the like nostril area that's gonna have that crease, so like right in there. And usually underneath the nose will have that shadow. So I just mentioned like not using your finger because it'll smear, but again, it's up to you. This is more of like the straight monkey ears nose, so I'm gonna kind of come around here, get my eyelid, pupil in the middle. I'm I'm going to come up and then around. Oh, that one's not even. I just noticed that where the tear duct was not lined up real well. It was noticeably different. A lot of times, nobody is perfectly symmetrical, but there will be points at which you're like, that doesn't look right. And it's usually because something is a little out of whack. There's a certain range of proportion that for some reason is acceptable to us as humans. And it's kind of ingrained. There are things that you, like, literally as a baby from staring at people's faces know are human looking, like within a normal spectrum. And then, like, as you see more people, like especially people that have certain health issues and that kind of thing, you will see there are some different ranges of the proportion that make you stop and notice that that's not exactly in the usual realm of proportion. And generally that's where, like, parents are like, don't stare. And it's not because, kids are being rude, but it's because it's something that is different than what they've seen before. So, so getting in here, getting your highlights in, trying to add a little bit of shading. You can add color if you want to. You can even go in with, if you want to try it out with pen and you want to go in that way. Ooh, I came down a little farther, but if you want to, like, try adding like your dark value with a pen, you can do that. But keep in mind, we want to add some shading. So unless you're prepared to do a lot of cross hatching or hatching, just use, if you are going to use some pen to get dark value, just be aware that you should be prepared to also shade. I'm just kind of going in to put, like, the eyelashes and, like, the creases and my pupil there and a little bit of the side edges just to bring it out a little bit. Again, this is not necessary, but it's something that you can do if you wanted to. So it really makes things, like, more visible, but honestly, pencil, just fine. Go through, again, with the little ones, you don't need as much detail. But go in, get the sides of the nose, do a little shady shade, even if it's just kind of a cursory kind of thing. A little shading around the nose, a little shading underneath the lips. A little, with the small ones, a little goes a long way. Like, even if you just do, like, a little, line over the eyebrows, it will still give you something. Get a little shadow around the bottoms of those spheres, don't forget. So play with it. This is practice for you because we will be putting, like, a bigger face together. I'm going to draw the eyebrows down a little bit on this one. Like, they're real close to the eye. But because it's a far away kind of thing, it still works. You can kind of see. So work on getting your eyes, nose, mouth into the right spaces. shade, shade, connect, and shade. Remember with eyebrows, I kind of follow. But you're doing 10 faces. And honestly, like if you go around and you get them in fast, like they do go pretty quickly because it's like doing a puzzle. You're putting your puzzle pieces in the spots where they go. Shady shade. And that then is what makes things go way faster. Like once you know where to put things, shady shade. Shade, 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 nostril, nostril. Mickey Mouse. Shady shade underneath. Once you get that in, then you've got your faces.